Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards here for Isabel Cristina Designs today, and I have this gorgeous little spring themed card here today featuring the lovely birth flowers from her new release and the little kitty cat from her previously released Happy Purrthday stamp set. So I have gone ahead and coloured and cut out my little daffodils here. I've done 2 sets of the daffodils. There are a bunch of different flowers, obviously one for each month of the year. These little daffodils come from March, funnily enough, for spring. And I just thought that they were so cute, and I decided that this little kitty cat worked really, really well with them as well. So here I have the Lawn Fawn stitched scalloped square frames. That's a bit of a mouthful. And I have gone ahead and cut that out from some white cardstock. So the frame piece I am going to leave white. The inner piece I am going to do some ink blending on. So I've got some repositionable tape here, and I'm just attaching that little square down onto my Make Art station. And I'm going to pull out this Lawn Fawn grassy stencil, which I'm going to use to create a little bit of a sky and ground effect for the background. So I'm using some cracked Pistachio Distress Oxide ink and just going in fairly lightly over that stencil at the bottom. Just tiny little bit of a background. You're not going to see a huge amount of it because it will mostly be covered, but I just wanted to have that option there so that you could kind of see something in the background. So I'm going to move that stencil down. The great thing about the stencil is that one part is designed to create the grass, the other part is designed to cover it up so you can ink over the top part, which is what I'm going to do here with this cloudy stencil, also from Lawn Fawn. And I'm going in with my Tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink just to create a fairly light sky here with some clouds in the background. As I say, most of it's going to be covered up, but it just adds a little bit of interest to the background of the card. So I'm just shifting my stencil around, adding some more ink, shifting it around again so that I get a different look of different clouds in the back. As I say, it's a fairly light colour that I'm using, and I'm going fairly light-handed, nothing too heavy, but it just creates a nice little bit of a cloud background there, which I really like. So I'm nearly at the bottom there. I'm just going to add that last one on, and then I'm just going to go over with some ink right at the bottom so that you don't get that kind of harsh line between the grass and the sky, and it just kind of blends everything in nicely. Once that is done, I'll lift my stencil up and you can see the finished little panel. So now I'm going to start creating my kind of frame piece. So I want to attach my daffodils down before I go ahead and glue anything else down. I want to attach them to the frame because this is going to be kind of popped up with a bit of foam tape. So I am kind of popping one down fairly low, and then I'm going to have one slightly higher. I just wanted to be able to see as much of these beautiful daffodils as possible. So I didn't want them to be too covered up. There is one that's going to be a little bit covered up by one in the back, but for the most part you can kind of see them. Once I'm happy with that placement of those, I will use some liquid glue to go around the edges and make sure that wherever the daffodils overlap the frame, I'm going to glue them down. This way they're nice and secure and they're not going to shift around as I make the rest of my card, and I just wanted to make sure they're all firmly placed down so that they're not going to wriggle around anywhere. Once that is done, I'm going to use my scissors just to remove the excess of that stem at the bottom. Now this is the only part where it's overhanging that I'm going to cut anything off. Where the flowers overhang the frame, I'm going to leave them on there. I just wanted to make sure that this kind of bit of stalk was cut off so that it was flush with the bottom of the frame. And there are a few little places where I have pieces overhanging the frame that I haven't glued down, so I'm just making sure that I do that now before I go on to my next step. And once that's done, I'm just going to bring in my little kitty cat here and make sure that he's going to fit in there nicely, which he does. And then I'm ready to move on to the next part of my project, which is to bring in my card base. So I have a standard sized 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base cut from some white cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and attach that ink blended panel down flat with some liquid glue. And I'm going to place it so that it is slightly higher than center. I want to leave a little bit of room at the bottom so that I can attach a sentiment. and I just wanted to make sure that I had enough room for that, but also that I had enough room for my flowers, which are kind of poking over the top of the frame at the top there. So I just wanted to make sure that I left plenty of room on both sides. Once I was happy with the placement of that, I'm bringing out some foam strips here so that I can add some dimension and height to this frame and to the daffodils. I want them to kind of be popped forward into the foreground of my card, and I just thought that it added a little bit to what is pretty, it's a kind of, I would say, quite a simple card. It's nothing really fancy. There's no kind of interactive element to this card or anything like that. And I just wanted to add a little bit of extra interest by adding this height and dimension. And I just thought it worked really, really nicely to pop these beautiful flowers forward. I love this Digi-Stamp set from Isabel Cristina. As I said, there's a whole bunch of different flowers, one for each month of the year. And they're all absolutely stunning. And I had the urge to make something spring-like today. And these gorgeous daffodils with their bright yellow colours just worked perfectly. So I've attached, as I say, all that foam tape down. I'm just removing the backing from all of that. And then I'm going to pop it down on top of that piece that I've already stuck down to my card base, and just make sure it's all nice and square and attached nicely. There are a few places where my flowers overlap that I'm going to just use some liquid glue on. I had initially thought about adding foam tape behind those so that I pop them forward even more. I decided against that, and I just decided that I would instead keep them flat. So now I'm just attaching my little cat down here, putting some liquid glue on him, and I did put a little bit of liquid glue on that little leaf that is going to be overlapping him. And I'm going to stick him down. I'm just trying to be careful, because what I don't want to do is to push my images into the card too much, so that I don't want them to sink in. I still want them to have that height. So I'm just being a little bit careful there. And this little ear was not sticking down, so I pulled in the tweezers to try and hold it in place, and it really didn't want to stick. So more glue was applied. The tweezers were applied again, and I think in the end I got it to stick down, and it just took a little while. But that is pretty much the basis of my card done. All I need now is my sentiment. So in the Happy Purrthday stamp set, there is this gorgeous large sentiment, which funnily enough reads Happy Purrthday. So I went ahead and printed it, and I fussy cut it out with my scissors to make it look like a die cut. And I'm just attaching it down flat with some liquid glue towards the bottom of my card. And that is it. My card is complete. I really love how this turned out. Love those beautiful flowers. Please do check out Isabel Cristina Designs Etsy shop, which I've linked below. Please do give this card a thumbs up. Please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And please do subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you come back again. Thanks for joining me.